क्लियर है? कर दो। टेबल आगे की है क्या? टेबल आगे। ओके, हेलो एवरीवन, गुड आफ्टरनून to all of you. First, let us first begin with one question that I'm going to give you now, and then we'll continue with our discussion. Today's class is till 5 p.m. Okay, till 5 p.m. we are going to have class. Okay, including doubt sessions. So, first question that I'm going to give you. Power and authority go together. Examine. Okay, this is 10-mark question. Power and authority go together. Examine. कौन सी बात है? 10 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन। क्या आगे करते हैं फिर डिस्कशन। ओके, नाउ लेट अस सी क्या हुआ इन 7 मिनट में. Let us see what happened in these 7 minutes. Okay, all of you have read this, power and authority. Okay, so you started explaining power and authority. Okay, but somehow I feel that despite explaining power and authority, you might have missed the demand of the question, जो कि हो जाता है. This is the reason why we do not get marks despite writing what we think is, required. The question is not only about power authority, it's about go together. So when you explain go together as well, then you address the demand. If you do not explain go together, then you are escaping the demand of question. Okay, go together is very important here, because if it was only about power authority, the question would have been how do you define authority or how do you define power. But the question is, what is the relation, or how do you explain the relation between power and authority? This is the question. So how do we approach? Obviously, first we have to identify keyword, and I can see two keywords, power and authority first. So what will I do? First, I will define power. And what is power? Probability of a man or number of men to exercise his or their will even against resistance of others. Simple. And then I explain authority. Define. What is authority? Probability. सेम वही probability वाला वर्ड इधर भी आएगा. Probability of the obedience of the command. भाई इसने पावर एक्सरसाइज करी against resistance of others. Why these others will have to obey the power as well, na? Obedience of power is authority. Obedience of power is authority. Okay, so probability of the obedience of command is authority. Acha, now I have defined two things. Now out of 10 marks, I have secured easily 2.5. Okay, 2.5 or 2. Let us assume 2. 2.5 we need 2 as ये हमने secure. One for each definition. Now what do we do? Now we read the question again. Power, authority go together. That means there is a relationship between these two that we have to explain. And what is the relation between these two? Power then gets legitimacy. It becomes authority. You see a man exercising power over you, and he's saying, you will have to give me 2000 rupees because you are not putting on mask. This is a power. Okay. And you are resisting. No, no, I will not give 2000 rupees. Why? Why should I give? Just 1 second back, I decided to have this momo or pizza, and in that 1 second you came. This is not fair, na? Okay, ये तो कोई बात नहीं हुई. And then you also say, who are you? Because that man is not putting on uniform. He will say, no, I'm police wala. You will say, how can I believe that you are police wala? Then he will show you his card. Okay. The moment he showed his card to you, you obeyed the command. Okay. And therefore, the very act of showing the card has actually made you obey the command. That means the very act of showing the card made that police wala exercise his will against your resistance, and you obeyed. Okay. That, and why did you obey? Because power, that ID card gives legitimacy to that person. Without ID card, because he had not put on uniform, so without ID card there was no legitimacy. The moment he gets legitimacy, you start obeying him. So therefore, what is the relation between these two? The relation is of legitimacy. When power gets legitimacy, it becomes authority. P plus L is equal to A. Simple. Okay. So with this equation, I have showed power, authority go together. ये दोनों साथ ही चल रहे हैं. Now what I can do? इतने में तो खत्म नहीं कर सकते. 150 word we have to write, and of course we can write. इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. एक्चुअली क्वेश्चन में एक और चीज भी थी, वो मैंने लिखी नहीं क्योंकि मैं 30 मार्क का नहीं देना चाहता था. इट वाज supposed to be 10 mark question only. So what we will do, we will discuss the various forms of legitimacies, or various ways through which power gets legitimacy. The moment he showed his card, he got legitimacy on the basis of rules, regulations. Okay. So legitimacy can be given, or legitimacy can have legitimacy on 3 bases. Okay. Traditional basis, charismatic basis, or legal rational basis. And depending on that, we have 3 different forms of authority: traditional authority, charismatic authority, legal rational authority. And then you have to give one example for each. One example for traditional authority, one example for charismatic one. Khatam ho gaya answer. Okay, and finally in conclusion, what will you say? Weber believed Weber believed that the larger trend of societies is towards rationalization. Okay, this implies power is legitimized more and more on the basis of legal rational principles and less on the basis of tradition. Simple. Okay. Now, how many of you did not draw a relation between power and authority like this? Sir, how 150 words हो गया 150 word? Power plus legitimacy is equal to authority, and then you explain legitimacy on the basis of tradition, charisma, legal rational principles, which automatically will make you explain the three different forms of authority. Okay, you will have to define them as well, na? Briefly and give one example and conclusion. 150 वर्ड से कम ही होएगा 140 अच्छा ही है ये थोड़ा ना 150 पूरा गिन के चलोगे तुम ऐसा कोई कैलकुलेटर थोड़ा ना साथ में लेके चलोगे ठीक है okay so what I'm trying to say is that demand of question should be met. Sir, should we include social action festy and ideal type? हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल you can. These are extra things you can do. Okay, but remember whatever you do that should not make you divert from the question. Keeping the demand of question in mind, you have to write whatever you want to do, and then you have to get back to the demand. Even if you start talking about festy and social action ideal type, you should not forget the question, demand of the question. वहां तो रहना ही रहना है. Generally what happens is when we start discussing some extra stuff, we tend to divert and we lose our way, lose our path, okay, that we had okay treaded on initially. तो उस चक्कर में क्या होता है थोड़ा हौच पौच हो जाता है. ओके ठीक है. Now I'll discuss the question paper as well after the last topic that we were discussing on Talcott Parsons. Okay, once we are done with Talcott Parsons today, then I start discussion of the questions along with model answers and mark scheme. Okay. So where was it? This. So we had discussed these things. Okay. I think we were somewhere here. The strain leads to. I was discussing this only. Okay. So now you know very well structural differentiation, integration, adaptive upgradation, generalization of values. Just to give you one example, one more example, other than family and church. Let me give you one example on caste, India. Okay. What was the function of caste in ancient times? Like, for example, we know the function of family in those times before industrial revolution happened. It was extended family, and extended family was everything. It was like a mini society. Okay. It used to educate you, it used to nurture you, socialize you, give you love, affection. Okay, everything was there. Okay. And today we see many specialized institutions performing those roles. Okay. And that does not show decline of family according to Parson. It only shows that family has now become specialized in one specific sphere, that is primary socialization. Rest of the things are being taken care by specialized institutions. So similarly, caste at one point of time had multiple kind of functions. For example, you used to get your job or occupation. Okay, your occupation was defined on the basis of your caste. This was the function of caste. Okay, your status in society was based on your caste. So caste used to give you status, caste used to give you your class. क्या बात है? Okay, so your class position was defined on the basis of caste. Your status was defined on caste. Your power, the power that you possess, was defined on the basis of caste. Your marriage alliance, who you are going to get married to, was based on your caste. Your socialization, your upbringing was based on your caste. Okay. Education was highly casteist. Okay. Upper caste used to get education on the occupations that they were performing. Lower caste used to get education on the things that those were performing. Therefore, lower caste reproduce their own occupation. Okay. You know, sanitation workers or all those menial task workers, their children got engaged in the same occupation. Today, castes do not play these many functions. Today, your class position, your occupation is not defined by your caste. Today, your occupation is defined by your individual merit, skill, your education. Caste do not have any role. Okay. And by the way, I'm talking about larger pattern. I'm not saying that all the individuals in the India and their occupation have no relation with the caste. I'm not saying this, but I'm saying the larger pattern is that caste has lost its traditional function. Okay. Today, the occupation is more on the basis of individual merit because our society today is not caste society. Our society is democratic society, equal opportunity to everyone. Secondly, your status is not coming from your caste today. Your status is coming again from your occupation or from your work ethics. Okay. Your status has no relation to your caste anymore. If you are IAS officer, you have status in society. These are some of the status positions. Okay. And you did not become IAS officer on the basis of your caste. You became on the basis of your individual skill. You got power, you automatically gained status. Today, caste does not play a role in marital alliances. Okay. Of course, the fact is, the problem is that most of the marriages today still happen on the basis of caste. Most of the marriage, larger trend. So yes, we can say that this one domain, okay, your marriage on the basis of caste is still very much there in the caste. Okay, so you can say, but the other things like your occupation, okay, your status, these things are not defined by your caste anymore, and therefore we cannot say that caste has declined. We can only say that caste has become specialized in one or two domain. Okay, and this is known as structural differentiation. Today you do not see caste as a way to education, caste as a way to status. Today you see caste as a way to democratic politics. Okay, you form, you see the people who are demanding reservation, dominant caste. Okay, you see caste based politics. So this is not the kind of function that caste used to play in those times. Today we have democracy, and caste has adapted to democracy. So we have caste based electoral politics. दोनों चीजें साथ चल रही हैं. That means we have both pattern variable A and pattern variable B. We do not have only pattern variable B. Indian society is a unique mix of both. We have pattern variable B in the name of democracy, but democracy, you cannot yield maximum fruits in this democracy without using your caste in electoral politics, and that shows that pattern variable A is being used, or pattern variable B is to a very large extent determining the path to modernity under pattern variable B. Okay, therefore in जो modernity है इंडिया में, therefore the modernity that we have in India is a modernity that is very Indian. It is not European modernity that we are emulating or we can emulate. It is a modernity which is Indian in nature. Okay, having mix of both the worlds. Okay, so this shows structural differentiation of caste. Caste is now playing limited functions, specialized functions. Not all the functions are being performed by caste the way it used to be. Adaptive upgradation. Caste has adaptive upgradation skill, and it has adapted to democracy. Okay, modern society. Generalization of values and integration. Now the fact is, since the caste is structurally differentiated, okay, and this shows adaptive upgradation on the part of caste, the question is how and why would there be integration between the organs like caste and other modern organs? Caste is one traditional organ, and other organs are highly modern. Democracy. Okay, these two are two opposite institutions, but still, why would they integrate? Because we have democracy based on caste based electoral politics. Caste plays a very dominant role in democracy as well. Okay, it is only because of caste and caste based reservation that we also have lower caste people in the positions of power. As long as we have caste, in fact, our democracy is the one which actually, you know, since we had this idea of having affirmative action, so we always wanted to give lower caste equal opportunity, and reservation was one of the medium or mode to give them equal opportunity. And as long as we have reservation based on caste, so long our democracy will be unique. Okay, because opportunities, of course, we are giving to everyone, but to some they are given on the basis of their caste only. Okay, so it is kind of paradox. It is a kind of paradox. Okay, integration, therefore, we have because of the similar reasons. Because democracy needs caste, and caste needs democracy. Understood or not? Caste needs democracy. Caste as an institution needs democracy. Okay. There is one very famous phrase. I think I have said this in the class or not, I don't remember. In India, we don't cast our votes. We vote our caste. Okay. And this is a very unique combination of both electoral democracy and caste as an institution. Integration. Generalization of values. What is generalization of values? As I was explaining to you, generalization of values means shared consensus. Shared consensus. Okay. And when Talcott Parson is talking about generalization of values, he believes American society, the members of American society have completely internalized the virtues of democracy. Okay. And this shows shared consensus. The fact is, I don't want to go into the details of whether Talcott Parson is right here or wrong, or whatever he's saying is because he's American or not. But we know one thing for sure, that the way, if we consider him right, that America has internalized the democratic virtues, we can never be so sure about India that way, that we have internalized the virtues of democracy. Okay. Because to internalize the virtues of democracy would mean, first of all, that we do not have any traditional institution. We do not have religion governing politics. Okay, but we have religion governing politics. We have caste governing politics. We have role of patriarchy in politics. So we cannot be so sure that we have really internalized the virtues of democracy. But he believed that America has internalized the virtues of democracy because in America there is no role of religion in politics, no role of race in politics, no role of any traditional institutions in politics or power, or even no role of your traditional ascriptive features in employment or occupation. If you have skill, if you have merit, if you are able, you will get this chance. Not on the basis of your ascriptive features, but only on the basis of your qualification, achievement status. Okay. And this is something that America has internalized, and these values have spread all over America only because of one institution, that is school. School. It is actually the school as an institution that has spread those values across America. And Talcott Parson believed that school is a focal agency. You can write this. School is a focal agency or a bridge. This is his statement. A focal agency or a bridge between family and society. Because how you are going to be like in the wider society is depending a lot on the kind of values that are given to you in the school. Okay. And school prepares you for the participation in the wider society. It is the school which prepares you for participation. School में ही जाके हमें पढ़ने को मिलता है डेमोक्रेसी, पॉलिटिक्स, पावर, occupation, history of India, all those things we get to read. And school is preparing us to be an able member or participant member in the wider discourse of society. To be a person who could have critical thinking, who could engage in debate, discussion with people. स्कूल में तो ये सब होता भी है, डिबेट कराए जाते हैं, डिस्कशन कराए जाते हैं, ताकि आप सोसाइटी में एक प्रोडक्टिव मेंबर की तरह बाहर जाओ. Okay, so school therefore is a focal agency or a bridge between family and society. And American schools are the best schools in the world. Okay, Talcott Parsons के हिसाब से. Okay, कोई भी स्कूल हो, स्कूल का मतलब सिर्फ वो नहीं है 1 to 12th. ये वाला कॉन्सेप्ट तो यहाँ चलता है हमारे यहाँ. स्कूल उधर अलग होता है, अलग सिस्टम है उधर, ठीक है. And when Talcott Parsons is talking about school, he includes all the institutions which we call as college, like Harvard, Cambridge. Okay, these are also schools to Talcott Parsons. That is why we use words like Harvard School, Cambridge School. Okay, so school का concept actually वहां से आता है, school of thought. Now the thing is, Talcott Parsons believed चाहे कुछ हो जाए, चाहे कोई भी बड़ी से बड़ी प्रॉब्लम आ जाए अमेरिका में, whatsoever problem America may suffer from, it would not matter whether that problem is coming because of the changes in demographic character, that is immigration, whether, like for example, if you remember, Donald Trump, when he was in power, he was every time concerned about immigrants. बार बार उसका यही था कि यार, people coming from outside America, they are eating up on our jobs. Okay, where will our Americans go? America first was his policy. Okay, so he was very much concerned about immigrants coming in. So that is a strain. Okay, so whatever problem America may suffer, whatever, whether it is coming from immigration, whether it is coming from changes in physical environment such as exhaustion of physical resources, soil, water, weather condition may also contribute to strain. Okay, in the sense whether it is cyclone coming into America, hurricane हो, चाहे कुछ भी हो, बड़ी से बड़ी मुसीबत हो. Okay, वहाँ तो बहुत नॉर्मल है, ये सब चलते रहता है वहाँ पर, ठीक है. चाहे पोलर वोर्टेक्स हो. Okay, polar vortex is also a very unique kind of phenomena that is present in America. Whether it is changes in population resulting from increased productivity of food and availability of resources for members within a social system. Okay, चाहे जितने भी immigrants वहां जाके settle हो जाएं और population बढ़ती जाए उनकी, चाहे कोई भी problem हो, whether the problem is because of development of new cultural configurations such as new religious ideas. Okay, what we call as individual or private religions. If you have read the notes given to you on Durkheim, there I talked about two kinds of religion according to Robert Bella. In America, there are private religions as well, individual religions. Okay, and then there is one great religion, civic religion, overarching religion that integrates and cuts across all those private religions and unifies them. That is known as Americanism. Nationalism is one civic religion, and other we have private religions because we have individualistic beliefs in modern society. So everybody has their own set of religion. Okay, so whatever problem we America may suffer, whatever strain America may go through, okay, but at the end of the day, since America has highest adaptive capacity, since America has highest adaptive capacity, the equilibrium will be restored. For example, in 1930, economy had to go through a major change, Great Depression, but still America has highest adaptive capacity, and therefore America produced economists like John Maynard Keynes, जिसकी पॉलिसी आज तक हम यूज करते हैं, मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी, फिस्कल पॉलिसी, ठीक है. And then Roosevelt came. Roosevelt reposed faith in Keynesian economics, and वहां से अमेरिका वापस स्टेबलाइज हो गया, नॉर्मल इक्विलिब्रियम रिस्टोर्ड. ओके, अडेप्टिव कैपेसिटी बहुत ज्यादा है. ओके, नाउ दीज, यहाँ पे 4 आएगा, 3 लिखा हुआ है मैंने गलती से. These 4 processes, structural differentiation, integration, adaptive upgradation, generalization of values, these 4 processes lead to establishment of new equilibrium. New equilibrium, very important. First write this, only write this much. These 4 processes lead to establishment of new equilibrium. Every society has inbuilt capacity to adjust with new situation. Parsons calls it homeostasis. Parsons call it homeostasis. ओके, इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? There is one society. In this society, some strains developed. मेरी बॉडी में कुछ स्ट्रेन डेवलप हो गए. ओके, सिमिलरली इन सोसाइटी strains got developed. The strains are D, P, P, P. ये क्या है? DPPT. यही है, बस इनका नाम रखा हुआ मैंने ऐसे. D, demographic character, physical environment P, for P population T, and cultural configuration C. Okay, and remember, strain can occur because of any reason. It is not that only one of the reason would lead to strain or all the reasons would lead collectively to strain. Anything can happen. Strain can happen as a result of anything. Okay, and if you are able to connect Talcott Parsons with Durkheim, because as I told you, largely he has borrowed all these ideas from Durkheim only. So when Durkheim talks about anomie, Talcott Parsons talks about strain. कोई difference है नहीं. Okay, Durkheim talked about how this anomie can be fixed. What is the force that can integrate the people once again? And he found it as division of labor. And Talcott Parsons is talking not just about division of labor, he is talking about specialized institutions playing those roles. Okay, to integrate specialized institutions having adaptive upgradation, adaptive capacity. So when a system goes through strain, the part which has felt the strain, that part will get back to equilibrium because other parts will help that part to restore or to get back to the normal position. For example, unemployment suddenly rising in economy. When unemployment is rising, that is the problem of which organ? Economic organ. Right? Right or wrong? Right? Every set of issue is coming from specific set of organ. Unemployment is coming from economy. That means economy is not working properly. So what will happen? The other organs will try to fix economy. And political system will get activated and they will say, make in India. Okay. By 2022, we will give this much of jobs. Problem fixed. अब 2022 तक मिली कि नहीं वो बात की बात. गोल सेट कर दिया है. अब प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी. ठीक है. Imagine you are feeling some problem with your organ, any organ. Okay, heart, brain, whatever that may be. You go to doctor, doctor will say 10 दिन के अंदर सब ठीक हो जाएगा, दवाई खाते जाओ. यही प्राइम मिनिस्टर करता है. 2022 तक सब ठीक हो जाएगा. ठीक है. ही इज ऑल्सो गिविंग यू डोज, पिल्स दे रहा है वो. ठीक है. So basically what I am trying to say is that कोई भी सोसाइटी में जब स्ट्रेन आता है, society again will get back to its position, and before strain we had one equilibrium. After adjustment, structural adjustment, all those things, again equilibrium is restored. What is the difference between these two equilibriums? This is old equilibrium, this is new equilibrium. Again after equilibrium got established, again some strains come because of any reason. Again this society adjust. Okay, organs somehow adjust, try to fix the issue with that specific organ. Again new equilibrium adjust, new equilibrium comes into existence. And therefore society is nothing but a story of moving equilibrium. Society is a story of moving equilibrium. And when you keep talking about moving equilibrium, moving equilibrium, moving equilibrium, इसका मतलब क्या है? Now see, if you look into these two words, moving equilibrium, these two words are opposite to each other. You cannot be moving and you cannot be at the same time be in equilibrium. I mean, how is it possible? These are two opposite words, which is a concept by Talcott Parson, and by these two words, moving equilibrium, he is trying to explain us something. He is trying to explain us something. Moving equilibrium. Or you can also call it dynamic equilibrium. Okay, these are the two words that he has used, dynamic equilibrium and moving equilibrium. Moving equilibrium as a concept simply explains that society changes continuously, not drastically. Moving means change हो रहा है. Moving word symbolize change in society. Equilibrium means gradual changes. Whatever problem occurred got fixed by other organs, again equilibrium restored, and then one or the other organ again starts feeling problem and other organs then again fix it. This goes on, keeps on happening. This is moving equilibrium. Society changes continuously, and therefore it is called as change in continuity. Change in continuity. Change in continuity. Continuity. Continuous change. Okay. not drastic change, revolution, gradual, evolutionary form, continuous, change in continuity, moving equilibrium. Okay, this is what the idea of Talcott-Parson is all about. Okay, now last part. Every society, as I told you, has inbuilt capacity to adjust with new situation. Parsons call it homeostasis. Homeostasis, you remember very well, an adaptive capacity to get back to the normal position. Readjustment, according to Parsons, because here the highlighted word is capacity to adjust with new situation. So this readjustment occur at two levels. According to Talcott Parsons, it occurs at two levels. One is within social system and second is across, that is changes of the social system. One is simple, let me write it like this. How does society adapt or adjust with the new situation? This is the main question. So there are two kind of adaptation. One is change within the system. Second is change of the system. Change within the system and change of the system. Now, remember, change of the system is not in our syllabus. Thank God. Okay. क्योंकि वो पढ़ लेते, then you would not have been able to locate Talcott Parson कि वो बोलना क्या चाह रहे. Remember, it is not actually the issue with one scholar. This issue is universal with every person. Every person also evolves. Today you give one idea, tomorrow you yourself will reject that idea. Okay, ये हमारे साथ होता है कि नहीं? सबके साथ होता है. गांधी भी इवॉल्व हुए. पहले कास्ट के उनके ऊपर कुछ अलग ओपिनियन था, बाद में कास्ट के ऊपर ओपिनियन चेंज कर लिया उन्होंने. सबके साथ होता है. तो स्कॉलर्स आर नो एक्सेप्शन टू दैट. कार्ल मार्क्स, there are two kinds of Karl Marx. One is young Marx and second is old Marx. This is known as epistemological break in the writings of Marx. Epistemological break means philosophically you will see different Marx when you are reading Alienation. And when you read his theory of revolution, you see very different Marx. Okay. And these two are written in two different books. Alienation was written in economic and philosophical manuscripts. Okay. That was, he was very young when he wrote that book. He did not talk about revolution in that point of time, at that point of time. Okay, when he grew old, he started talking about revolution. Did not limit his discussion to alienation. Okay, you see a shift in the writings of Marx from being conservative to radical. It was not that he was right from the beginning, he was radical. Okay. Similarly, in the writings of Talcott Parson, you will see a shift. Young Parsons and old Parsons. Okay. But we will not be going into those details because हमारा काम तो यूपीएससी जितना ही है. ठीक है, चलो. But I'll give you one hint as well. Okay, कि फिर भी although we are preparing for UPSC, we can understand one or two lines at least from that area. Okay, ज़्यादा नहीं. But write this line first. This is the last box. In the longer run, readjustment takes an evolutionary form. Since factors causing strain are constantly on work, since factors causing strain are constantly on work, comma, readjustment is also continuous. क्या बात है? Readjustment is also continuous. Hence, Parsons says that society is in moving equilibrium. ठीक है? You may get ill after every 5 or 6 days, but then you also get back to normal position. Okay, so this is continuous process. बीमार बचपन से होते आए हैं, बचपन से ठीक भी होते हुए हैं. ठीक है. Similarly, सोसाइटी में ऐसा होता है. Okay. So with this, I would like to bid farewell to Talcott Parsons. But one or two more points before saying goodbye to him. First point is this: change of the social system. So far we have read change within the social system. Remember this. So far we have read change within the social system. Okay. The question is, what does he mean by change of social system? To give you one example, our socialization, our growth as an individual, although has been continuous, okay, you never got to know when did you grow so big, okay, overnight. Of course it was not overnight. Okay, it took you long process to gain this much height. You yourself cannot really point out or locate what was the point when you started gaining this much height. It was a continuous process. But the fact is, our socialization can still be divided into different stages. What we call as infant stage, okay, teenage stage, adult stage, okay. Our growth might have been continuous, definitely, but it can still be divided into stages. So similarly, society might have also uh, grown in a continuous fashion, in a gradual fashion, but still societies and the evolution of society can be divided into different stages, right? So your infant version is very much analogous to the primitive society, because as infant you are wild, okay, as infant you are idiot. I'm not saying you are idiot, but this is how the world runs, okay. Those people are called as idiots who need to be socialized, need to be sent to school, okay. So similarly we had primitive society, then we became teenagers, so that means we were in the middle of being adulthood, of gaining adulthood, and this infant stage, okay. So we were right in the middle of these two extremes. Similarly, after primitive society we have intermediate society. First primitive, second intermediate, third modern, that is adult. Okay. And from primitive to intermediate, from intermediate to modern shows change within the system or change of the system. It shows change of the system. Okay. So what is change in the system? As long as we were in primitive era, we were having continuous changes within primitive society. That was change within the system. सिंपल सी बात है, चेंज विद इन द सिस्टम चल रहे हैं. In intermediate, change within the system. In modern, we are having changes within the system. Okay, and this primitive to intermediate or intermediate to modern is change of the system. And Talcott Parson has studied both of them. Okay, but Talcott Parson did not call primitive to intermediate as revolution, or he did not call intermediate to modern as revolution. Rather, he called these stages as evolutionary universals. नया एक term है. He called these stages, these three stages are called as evolutionary universals. What is the meaning of this? Evolutionary universals. Universals. That means universally we will have these three stages everywhere in the evolution of society, whether it is American, Indian, Chinese. Every society has evolved in a universal fashion or in a linear fashion like this. Every society was primitive, just like every child is infant. And then every society became intermediate and then finally attained modernhood, adulthood. Okay, and Talcott Parson believed today in the world, America is adult, having highest adaptive capacity, and rest of the countries are teenagers, बच्चे हैं अभी. The rest of the countries are teenagers. Okay. India, he called India and China as intermediate societies. India and China are intermediate. That means second world. अगर ऐसा कुछ division होता उसके नजर में, he although never used these kind of words. These are the words that Marxist scholars use. Okay. He was a functionalist. He would never use such kind of classification. So intermediate means India and China. Modern means America. Okay. And I will teach you one theory in some other unit. That theory is known as modernization theory. It is actually coming from the writings of Talcott Parsons only. How did America become modern and what should other people learn from America? And America had actually become, just like we have Supreme Court, guardian of Constitution. America at one point of time had become guardian of development all over the world. Okay. And that is why America came up with institutions like IMF, World Bank, different kind of plans, Marshall Plan, different aiding agencies that would give you soft loans, hard loans. And not just that, America used to intervene in the development process as well. What are the things that we will fund? This is not we will fund. Okay, if you really want us to help you with the balance of payment crisis, you will have to listen to us. ये जितने constraints हैं तुम्हारे, इनको हटाओ पहले. So the development process that we actually followed was actually laid out by America only. And this is known as modernization process. And when you are modernizing, in the sense you are in the process of becoming something, right or wrong? If you are modernizing, you are in the process of becoming something. What is that something? That something is America. Okay, and this was the thesis of modernization, that the meaning of development had actually become synonymous to America. The meaning of westernization had actually become synonymous to Americanization. Okay. Fact is, America was never primitive. अरे ऐसे कैसे बोल देते हो यार? रेड इंडियंस कौन थे? रेड इंडियंस अमेरिका प्रिमिटिव कभी था ही नहीं। मतलब शुरू से ही उसके पास मैकडोनल्ड रहा है, शुरू से ही केएफसी रहा है उसके पास, डोमिनोज। कभी हंटिंग की नहीं वहां के लोगों ने, ऐसा थोड़ा ना है। अमेरिका वॉज प्रिमिटिव। The fact is we do not read American primitive history. This is the only difference. Okay, हम अमेरिकन प्रिमिटिव हिस्ट्री को पढ़ते नहीं है कभी। their primitive history is localized to certain tribes. Okay, and those studies of those tribes are undertaken by anthropologists. Okay, एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट स्टडी करते हैं उन सारी ट्राइब्स की स्टडी को। ओके, एनी हाउ, so this was all about Talcott Parsons. Now, one last, since you have read pattern variable, you have read social system, this is the last thing that is going to connect both of them. It is like a patchwork. Okay, it will help you fix both of those things in your mind. Cognitive consonance between pattern variable and social system. Cognitive consonance. Consonance का मीनिंग क्या होता है? सिंपली रिलेशन। ओके, cognitive consonance means intellectual relation between both. Okay, it's like pattern variable and social system go hand in hand with each other. What is the meaning of this line? See, let me talk about social system, any social system. And what is social system? Anything can be social system if it has those four organs. Okay, India can be social system. Level up IAS can also be a social system if level up IAS has four different organs catering to four different needs. Okay, university is a social system. Okay, if you have to see if anything is social system or not, you just have to see if the four needs are being met by any organ in that social system or not. That's it. This is what you have to do. Okay, so social system can denote anything. Let me talk about bureaucracy. Is bureaucracy social system or not? Bureaucracy is a social system. Okay. Now, in this social system, what is the pattern variable that is running? A or B? When can bureaucracy be efficient? When it has pattern variable A or when it has pattern variable B? Bureaucracy can be efficient. This is what, who said? Max Weber. Bureaucracy can be most efficient if it has values like universalism. What was universalism to Max Weber? What are the features of bureaucracy where you can locate universalism? One idea given by Talcott Parsons. Merit-based recruitment. Universalism. Nobody is given special treatment. Standards are not particularist, universal standards. आईएएस बनना है, एग्जाम दो, चाहे आप मेरे भतीजे हो, डज नॉट मैटर. ठीक है, एग्जाम दो. इफ आई एम यूपीएससी चेयरमैन, डज नॉट मीन कि मेरा बेटा आईएएस बन सकता है, आराम से पेपर लीक हो जाएगा, नहीं हो पाएगा. ठीक है, standards are universal. So bureaucracy is a social system and it can be most efficient if it has values like universalism. Otherwise यूपीएससी तो करप्ट हो जाएगा अगर वो ऐसे चलने लग गया. एफिशिएंसी कहाँ रहेगी, फिर तो कोई भी बन जाएगा आईएएस. ठीक है, so if it has values like universalism, second, achieved status or achievement orientation. Okay, if it gives importance to values like universalism, achievement orientation, self orientation, affective neutrality. Affective neutrality. When you go to interview, there the board members are expressing full affective neutral relation with you. They are not in love with you. Okay. Okay. They will be very cool to you. Okay. But they will not be emotional with you. Okay. You cannot expect them to empathize with you. Okay. So affective neutral completely. It's an interview board where personalities are evaluated. Okay. So it will be complete instrumental objective relation with the body sitting on the other side of the table. Okay. Which is going to be evaluated. Body being evaluated. Okay. So it is completely affective neutral relation. Okay. So every social system runs on specific set of pattern variable. Okay. Bureaucracy, I told you, it runs on pattern variable B. Now, let me talk about another social system, family. Family is also a social system. Within family, we have AGIL as well. Okay, within family. Adaptation. How family adapt? How family engage with external environment? Each member of the family is contributing to the survival of family or not? If I think about mother or of mother only as housewife, okay, so mother is also having a very huge role in maintenance of family. Okay, because she is the guardian of household. Okay, so she knows all the budget that has to be gone into the, grocery, all those things that are required for the survival of the members of family. Okay, father is a breadwinner. Okay, so he will fulfill all the wishes of sons or daughters. Okay, initially. Okay, so family adapts. Family works. The members of family work for the maintenance of survival of the for the survival of the family. Okay, children will celebrate birthday of their parents or Mother Day or Father's Day. Okay, parents will celebrate birthday of their children. They will invite some of their friends as well. They may even go out on a trip or a vacation. Okay, something like this. So all these things are helping society to maintain itself, adaptive capacity. Okay. Goal attainment within family. Okay. You will see father, mother concerned about concerned about not only you as their child, okay, but also about their own future. इंश्योरेंस में इतना इन्वेस्ट करना है, कल को वो घर को हमने वहां चढ़ाना है, यहाँ करना है, इतने काम बचे हैं, ठीक है, इनको भी अपना बनवाना है कुछ ना कुछ जिंदगी में, ठीक है. These are goals that family members set or establish. Okay. And once family members have established goals for the young ones or for themselves, the second step would be to mobilize the resources to fulfill those goals. बेटे को आईएएस बनवाना है, एडमिशन करवाएंगे पैसा इकट्ठा करके. Mobilize resources to fulfill the goal. Okay. So this is goal attainment process that is going on within family. Integration. What is the function of integration? What is the role that integration performs? Integration minimizes conflict, resolves conflict, maintains coordination. And family is one unit that, of course, helps in minimizing or resolving the conflict within members of society or within members of family. ठीक है, भाई भाई का झगड़ा हो गया, बात करवाएंगे आपस में, जो भी है भाई बहन का कुछ हो गया इशू, सेटल करवाएंगे, इंटीग्रेशन पूरा हो जाता है वो भी. ओके. लेटेंसी means tension management. Okay. Tension management. Tension management. Whenever you are sad as an individual, okay, family will help you, motivate the individual, diffuse the tension. So family is a social system. But do you think family will be able to maintain itself if family runs on pattern variable B? If family runs on bureaucratic principles, think like this. If family is running on pattern variable B, ठीक है, तो क्या होएगा? टूट जाएगी फैमिली. Families will break down. Okay. Therefore, family, if it has to maintain itself, it has to have pattern variable A running across it. Okay. And this is also a relation between a social system and pattern variable. So, दोनों हो गए पूरे. ये फैमिली का हो गया पैटर्न वेरिएबल ए के साथ, ये ब्यूरोक्रेसी का हो गया पैटर्न वेरिएबल बी के साथ. खत्म. Okay. So this was all about Talcott Parsons. Rest of the things you can read from the handouts. तो अब ज़्यादा कुछ है भी नहीं, सब already I have covered. You would not find anything new as such in handout. Maybe one or two extra things. So now let us start with, what do we call it? Critique. Critique of Parsons. Critique of. Achha, by the way, suppose you have family. Okay. Family is maintained itself only because of many things, but other than that, a very important thing is that we can see gendered role expectations. that is maintaining the family. Gendered role expectations. Okay, mother is doing or performing expressive role. Okay, father performing instrumental role. Remember this. Father is performing instrumental role, and mother is performing expressive role. Now, where did I come up with these terms from? From pattern variable A and B. Pattern variable A is expressive, and B is all about instrumental. Pattern variable B is very much analogous to formal rationality of Max Weber. Okay, the principles required for the functioning of effective functioning of bureaucracy are nothing but pattern variable B only. Okay, so pattern variable B is highly instrumental, A is highly expressive, and it is mother who is performing expressive role in family, affectional role, पर्टिकुलर रोल अपने बेटे के लिए स्पेशल ट्रीटमेंट. ठीक है, कुछ फादर थोड़े स्ट्रिक्ट होते हैं, एकदम रैशनल ऑब्जेक्टिव, नहीं ये सब नहीं चलेगा, निकलो घर से. ठीक है. ठीक है, मतलब आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि ऐसा हर जगह होता है, बट तुम लोग भी जल्दी क्यों समझ पाएगी चीज, क्योंकि पता है ऐसा हो जाता है, देखा है ऐसा. ठीक है, तो पैटर्न वेरिएबल ए और बी. अब क्या है दिक्कत? When you have family running on these two role expectations, family will maintain itself, family will survive. The moment you have feminism, when family reacts with feminism, reaction हो रहा है दोनों का. ठीक है, what will happen? Mother who was performing expressive role, she will also now would like to perform instrumental role like father. मुझे भी काम पे जाना है, तुम अकेले ही जाओगे क्या? पैसा खुद ही बनाओगे क्या सारा? ठीक है, instrumental role. So now both the people are going towards instrumental role, what we call as women empowerment, feminism हो रहा है. Women are also getting occupations. Okay, that means now both man and woman are going for instrumental role. Now the question is, who will take care of the child? We have specialized institutions for that. Crutch institution, daycare centers. Taking care of that की जरूरत क्या है? मेरे होने की जरूरत ही नहीं. बच्चे को दे देंगे, आप पकड़ा रास्ते में जा रहे होंगे तो उसको वहां डाल देंगे बिल्डिंग के अंदर. ठीक है, तो ये है. अच्छा, now the question is in America, concept of family is declining. Family, the existence of family is almost in doldrums. It is declining now. Okay, why? Only because of feminism. Family, see, as I told you, family cannot maintain itself if we do not have these two different genders performing role expectations. This is what makes family. The moment you have feminism, family as a concept gets destroyed, because you do not have women performing that expressive role or performing the expected role. Okay, what will happen then? Family will decline. Now, I'm not saying family will now get specialized. I'm saying family will decline. Because when Talcott Parson is talking about specialization, he's assuming, because at that point of time there was no such wave of feminism. So he had assumed that, for family, of course, women तो obviously वो रहेगी ना काम के लिए, तो उसमें तो क्या ही. Okay, but today we do not have this kind of thing. Today we see women having similar kind of aspirations and ambitions at par with men. So families are declining in West. Okay, and what are generating, what are the institutions that we can now see instead of family that are on rise? Those are live-in relationships. Live-in relationships. Okay, families are disintegrating. Okay, live-in relationships are happening very rapidly. Why? Because in the capitalism, for for a capitalism, for the capitalism, you have to be efficient worker. Okay, first of all. And why would they recruit you? If you can come to Bangalore, only then they will recruit you. Otherwise, you will not be coming with us. Okay, if you are ready to leave your family and come here and join us here at Kashmir or Bangalore or Chennai or Silicon Valley, only then you are eligible. Otherwise, we have so many industrial reserve army. Okay, we can hire anyone. Okay, so therefore you will have to be very mobile in the sense readily available to go to any location. Okay, and when you are readily available to go to any location, what will happen to family? लड़की बोलेगी मैं भी जा रही हूँ, ठीक है, मैं यहाँ पे कोई वो नहीं हूँ, ठीक है, 1900s और 1800 वाली कि तुम्हारा वेट करूंगी, ऐसे कोई हीरो भी नहीं हो तुम, ठीक है, वो अपना जाएगी काम पे. And when you will find someone there wherever you have gone, okay, you go to Bangalore, you go to America, you find someone new, you start falling in love with that person, ठीक है, but you are not so quick to go with marriage, quite a bit reluctant because you are new to this place. So you will first find accommodation, and then you will hire a house, rent a house, and both of you will decide to stay together because it will save our money as well. In the name of this, live-in relationship will start between both of them. ठीक है, और अब जब ये होने लग जाएगा फिर क्या होएगा? One day the girl will get a call from some other employee that congratulations, you have been hired for this job now. We are paying you 1 crore, okay, per day. Okay, तो वो तुम्हें लात मारेगी. 1 करोड़ एक दिन का उसको मिल रहा है, क्यों रहेगी वो तुम्हारे साथ? ठीक है. What will happen then? और वो ना भी लात मारे, ठीक है, साथ रहे भी, क्योंकि पैसा इतना बड़ा चीज नहीं है. What will happen? Both of you will decide that okay, we will stay in a relation, but it will be long distance relation. Okay, so long distance relation, so that means now live-in also is disintegrating. Long distance relationships are coming, and long distance relationship is very different from live-in relationship. In live-in, you are staying under one household, common roof. In long distance, you are not staying under common roof, and therefore with feminism, family declined. With capitalism, live-in declined. And then we finally have living apart together. LAT. These are new kind of relationships. LAT. These are also studied by sociologists. Okay, living apart together. That we stay separate, we live apart but together. We are in a relationship but living apart. Okay. Think क्या है? थिंग का फुल फॉर्म एक बार बता दो। अच्छा, डबल इनकम नो चिल्ड्रन, ये थोड़ा वो स्लैंग टाइप हो गया, दिस इज मोर लाइक अ स्लैंग। ओके, मतलब ये थोड़ा स्लैंगिश हो जाएगा, ये मतलब कॉन्सेप्ट के लायक नहीं होएगा। वैसे सही है, कूल दिखने के लिए, व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस के लिए सही है। ओके, anyhow, let me come back to criticism of Parsons. You know, if I ask you one question, what will Durkheim say on feminism? What do you think, Durkheim on feminism? Will Durkheim appreciate feminism or will he hate feminism? Remember, remember, Durkheim is always concerned about one thing. Always concerned about one thing: cohesion, integration. And feminism does not integrate, it disintegrates. So Durkheim is never going to like feminism. Okay? Because he is more concerned about integration and feminism does not integrate. Chalo, critique of Parsons. First of all, when you look into the writings of Parsons, he, explains that we have school, family, all the organs functioning perfectly. Okay, only then we have great American society. Question is, and also one of the biggest problem with Talcott Parson is just like the same problem that we have with any other scholar who is doing inductive reasoning, following inductive reasoning. Talcott Parson believes this is how every society, this is the kind of path every society will follow. Okay. From primitive to intermediate to modern. Now the question is, if every organ of society is functioning perfectly, then how would you explain some of the problems that are not given due importance by Talcott Parsons and that are very recurrent phenomena in society? So first critique, I'll explain those phenomena. You can write like this: by George Huako. In fact, first I will tell you something else, then I'll discuss that. First write George Huako. George Huako क्या बोलता है? He says that Talcott Parsons' theory of structural functionalism is a political program. Political program. What is the meaning of this? Structural functionalism is a political program. Structural functionalism is a political program. ये क्या बात हुई? It simply means that structural functionalism as a theory was developed to legitimize the hegemony of America over other world, over other countries. America is great nation because we have all these organs functioning perfectly to maintain the system, and this theory actually legitimized it. And this sure only because of this theory, other countries were portrayed as not so effective in dealing with these strains. Okay, and America was displayed as the most effective nation to deal with all the strains. So structural functionalism therefore is a political program, okay, run by America to maintain its hegemony in global politics. Basically, George Huaco is saying that Talcott Parson was funded by American state to come up with this theory which can show that why we are most developed and why others should follow us. You should develop a theory in sociology for this. Okay, so this is kind of accusation that Huaco has made against Talcott Parsons' writing. Okay. Now, is this right or not? Of course, we are not interested in going into those details because that is very political thing. Okay. Second critique. Is by Ralph Dahrendorf. Ralph Dahrendorf. हेजेमनी हेजेमनी क्या होता है? वो बोलते हैं सुप्रीमेसी. Hegemony is like supremacy. Ralph Dahrendorf. Ralph Dahrendorf is a Marxist scholar, so obviously conflict theorist he is, so he will obviously explain the critique to structural functionalism through conflict paradigm. So he will say, it's if you are a scholar from conflict school, very easy to criticize functional school. Functional school talks about maintenance of system. Critic and conflict theorists always talk about maintenance of the interest of certain class, not of the system as a whole. Okay. So Ralph Dahrendorf, since he is a conflict theorist, so he will talk about conflict. He will talk about not a system, not system as a whole. He will talk about sections in the system, and both sections having two different interests, and therefore both sections are in antagonist relation with each other. And Dahrendorf believed that Talcott Parsons is a wheeled status quoist. Parsons is a wheeled status quoist scholar. Wheeled. Wheeled क्या होता है बताता हूं मैं. Okay. Wheel is like that. नकाब जिसे कहते हैं ना. It's like a mask. Wheel. Okay. So wheeled status quoist. That means he is actually status quoist in the sense he is describing social change, okay, within society, across society, change of the system. But despite talking about change, what actually he is actually a wheeled status quoist. मतलब कि he is always talking about maintenance of status quo only. At the end of the day, ट्रेन्स आया, ठीक है, चेंज हुआ, वापस इक्विलिब्रियम आ गया, status quo again. He is never talking about conflict between any section in society. He is not interested in conflict between man, woman, rich, poor, Hindu, Muslim. These are the major issues in society every day that you see. And he is not talking about society, main issues. पता नहीं क्या abstract models he is talking about. Okay. and he thinks that he has explained all society. This is what Dahrendorf is saying. The major issue with society, when you look at society, when I look at society as a conflict theorist, I see only conflict between groups. I do not see harmony or maintenance of system. I see only, when I read newspaper, every day I read conflict, nothing else. I do not. Do you read maintenance of system in newspaper? You always read about conflict. So it is the conflict that is the essence of society. It is not the consensus or maintenance of system that is the essence. And when Parsons or structural functional scholars discuss about maintenance of system, they are not really talking about society. They are talking about some abstract model which they have in their mind, which is not even the empirical reality out there. Okay. And Parsons is a wheeled status quo scholar and is not dealing with and does not deal with real conflict over power between different groups in society. Different groups in society. उसकी बात ही नहीं कर रहे वो. Okay. Now third. Jeffrey Alexander. Jeffrey Alexander. Now see, before I discuss this critique, Jeffrey Alexander at one point of time was important scholar at one point of time. Okay. He has given a theory called as neo-functionalism. Okay. Neo-functionalism. Something that you do not have to read. In fact, nobody reads. Even MPhil PhD scholars do not read those things. Why? Because these are outdated things. Neo-functionalism. In fact, Alexander himself said in his book, okay, the last edition, that do not read neo-functionalism. Okay. Something that he came up with, he himself saying, please do not read it. Okay. उसको मालूम चल गया था, गलती कर दी उसने. बट चलो अच्छा है, कम से कम इतना तो बताया उसने गलती की. Honest तो है. Jeffrey Alexander is one person who has critiqued structural functional paradigm of Talcott-Parsons by arguing that Talcott-Parsons cannot explain, or his theory is not able to explain, the real social issues that are present in society. Real social issues that are present in society. For example, rise of fascist leaders. Can Talcott-Parsons explain? See, remember, why he's saying that Talcott-Parsons cannot explain this or that or this or that? Because Talcott-Parsons actually believed that my theory can explain everything. Okay. If you remember, I told you Talcott-Parsons, the ambition of Talcott-Parsons was to integrate both micro and macro. And from there on, he came up with the idea of grand theory. Okay, grand theory. Although he never used this word himself, grand theory, but some people called his theory as grandest of all because it could explain everything from action of individuals to systems and to the changes within system to changes of the system. सब कुछ explain कर सकते हैं Talcott-Parsons की help से. ठीक है. But he is pointing out what we cannot explain and what are the real issues which need to be addressed and cannot be explained. Rise of fascist leaders. Second, rise of communalism or communal conflict. Communal conflicts cannot be explained with the help of Talcott-Parsons theory. Okay, because Talcott-Parsons at max, what will Talcott-Parsons say? Strain aa gaya hai, strain, this is strain. Okay, this strain will get fixed by equilibrium. Okay, political system will heal it. Arey, but this is not going to permanently heal, na? This is a patchwork. This is not a solution. This is not explanation to communalism. This is, you are simply explaining your own theory. And communalism is that one thing that you are treating as strain. So you are again explaining your own theory. You are not explaining communalism. Why it is happening. Okay. So rise of communal conflicts. Sexual harassment of women at both private and public sphere. Cannot be explained. Family is functional for the system. Okay. Bhai, but talk about the issues in the family. Within family there are so many issues. Functional for the system कैसे हो जाएगी पर जब खुद ही नहीं टिकी हुई है. Divorce rates are increasing every day like anything. Okay. Crime against women are happening every day. It cannot explain issues like increased unemployment. Simple सी बात है. All the things that politicians promise us, okay, those things are not or cannot be explained by Talcott-Parsons. Okay, this is simply, you can understand, unemployment, okay, education, dropouts. Okay, dropouts among the school children cannot be explained. Okay, this shows, see, if dropout is happening, what does it show? It shows there is problem with education as a system. But Talcott-Parsons believed education as a system is functional for the system. It is a focal agency between family and society. अरे but within education जो problem चल रही है वो बताओ, drop out क्यों हो रहे हैं अगर इतना सब बढ़िया चल रहा है. ठीक है, वो नहीं बताएगा. वो बात ही नहीं कर रहा. सब रोजी रोजी हारमोनियस पिक्चर प्रेजेंट कर रहा है सोसाइटी की. ये इंस्टीट्यूशन ये काम करता है सोसाइटी के लिए, मेंटेन करता है. विद इन इंस्टीट्यूशन क्या इशू है वो बात ही नहीं करता. ओके, so these are the things that you can easily understand. बाकी सब नोट्स में देख लेना. So now we will discuss question paper with after a small break of 3-4 minutes. Okay. Alexander और Dahrendorf सेम ही तो बोल रहे हैं ना? नहीं, Dahrendorf is mainly talking about conflict between groups over power. Okay, and Alexander is talking about social issues. थोड़ा सा difference है. जैसे ड्रॉप आउट इज नॉट अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. भाई बच्चे ड्रॉप आउट हो रहे हैं स्कूल से, इसमें कॉन्फ्लिक्ट की तो बात ही नहीं है. ये तो इशू है, सोशल इशू. ठीक है. हाँ, ये है स्ट्रगल फॉर पावर है बिटवीन हिंदू मुस्लिम्स. ठीक है, ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है. Dahrendorf इसकी बात करेगा. Talcott-Parsons नहीं बोल रहा उसकी बात. Talcott-Parsons is speaking like positivist. हुआ को क्रिटिसाइज ओनली पार्सन्स और ऑल फंक्शनलिस्ट. हमको सिर्फ यही समझना है कि पार्सन्स को किए. सारे फंक्शनलिस्ट के लिए हमने एक कोई ऐसा फॉर्मूला तैयार मत करना. ठीक है, कि ये स्कॉलर हर फंक्शनलिस्ट में लिखेंगे, वो मत करना. स्पेशलाइज थोड़ा दिखो. स्पेशलाइज दिखना इंपॉर्टेंट है कि तुमने इसकी लिस्ट बना रखी है अलग, इन स्कॉलर्स के लिए अलग क्रिटिक किया हुआ है. वो फॉर्मूले मत तैयार करना बस कि ये फॉर्मूला यहाँ लगा देंगे, उधर भी डाल देंगे. रेलेवेंस ऑफ पार्सन. Talcott-Parsons is speaking like positivist only. ओके, इंडक्टिव रीजनिंग है उसकी. and he believed all societies in the world evolve like this only. Okay, from primitive to intermediate to modern society. Okay, and then there is something like equilibrium, that he's always concerned about evolution. Okay, evolution takes place gradually. Okay, so he is like a positive scholar only that way. And as I told you initially, that he was inspired by three streams of knowledge: positivism, utilitarianism, and idealism. And you will see elements of all the three in all the concepts that he has dealt with. Long distance different from living apart. Living apart together एक अलग चीज होती है. Living apart together means you are married, you both are married, okay, and then you are staying apart because of your work compulsions. लॉन्ग डिस्टेंस तो कैजुअल भी हो जाते हैं ना. ठीक है, आज आपकी गर्लफ्रेंड बनी, बॉयफ्रेंड बना, कल कुछ काम आ गया, चले गए कहीं, लॉन्ग डिस्टेंस शुरू हो गया वहां से, 10 दिन का, 12 दिन का, ना भी है. चलो फिर आई विल टेक अ ब्रेक एंड देन विल कंटिन्यू. Okay, so am I audible? Okay. So yesterday what happened, one of my friend called me late night, and you know, he had gotten engaged with someone, okay, 1 year back. And yesterday she told me that engagement जो है वो टूट गया. So she was very tensed. So I was trying to understand why all these things happened, all those things. So she actually wanted to discuss those things with someone. So she called me. Okay. And when I got to know the reasons why engagement got broken. So, at the surface it seemed to me, or at the surface it would seem to anyone, a personal trouble. Because the things that she told me, the person, okay, who I was dating, he was very nice initially, and I did not know that whatever I was, sharing with him, he used to tell all those things with his mother. Okay, so his mother had already formed an image of me in her mind, that this is the kind of girl I am. Okay, and I got to know this at a very later stage, that he was sharing everything about me, every discussion that we used to have with his mother. Why would a mature man share all those things with his mother? Okay, I do not do these things. If I say, if I start sharing everything, every conversation that I'm having with this boy with my mother, obviously my mother will also have an image of that person कि आदमी ठीक नहीं है, इससे शादी नहीं होगी. ठीक है. So basically that person had formed an image about this girl in the mind of his mother, that this girl is very dominating. Okay, he would always point out flaws in my, uh, dressing sense, in the way I speak, okay, or in the things that I do at work, okay. So I said, "Ki bhai, if this is the issue that you have been dating since 1 year, and why this guy came up with these issues, okay, these flaws in you after 1 year, after engagement, all those things, these things should have been settled before engagement. You guys got engaged only after knowing and gelling up with each other very well." So basically, that boy had actually planned that uh, his work compulsions were like this, that he had to work at a plant. Okay, for 3 weeks he had to stay at a plant, and fourth week he would come to home. Okay, so and he what do you call? He expected that this girl would cooperate. Okay, and he would be happily living like this forever. Okay, 3 weeks I would be going to plant, fourth week I would be coming to home. The girl was not uh, someone who actually had signed up for this marriage on these terms or conditions. Okay, these were very new to her. So obviously, these guys broke up. Okay, so see, now at the surface it seems very personal trouble of these individuals. A man, this man is doing like this girl is doing like this girl is pointing out flaws in him. Okay, okay, or that boy is expecting these kind of things from her. But this is not a personal trouble, it is a public issue. Okay, so I told her ki this is some, you are talking about one man, but this is not about one man, or he is talking about one girl. It is not about one girl. This is what the expectation of a girl from a girl is, and this is what the expectation from a boy is, that you guys are thoroughly engaged in interaction with, under this premise that these are the expectations. Okay, and when you are having discussion like this, it is not something that any third person like me can help you with. Okay, nobody can help you with in these things. Okay, and basically, sociology as a discipline will help you. What I'm trying to say is to help you understand that what seems a personal trouble is not personal trouble. It is not going on only with you, it is happening with everyone. It is a public issue. So therefore, sociology as a discipline transforms an individual's perception about the world, about the way he leads or she leads his or her life. Okay. And anyhow, by the way, uh, Level Up website is going to have resource page very soon, where we will be uploading resources related to all the subjects, including optionals, free resources for students, where we'll be sharing blogs related to current affair, sociological blogs, okay, and magazines, newspaper articles, NCRT PDF, everything will be downloadable. Okay, we are doing that only. So now, before discussing this question paper, uh, Talcott Parson, if I were to talk about Talcott Parson, for example, okay, I can easily see Talcott Parson, the relevance of Talcott Parson in everyday life. Okay, the most debatable topic that is going on these days, okay, is population control measures. Okay, सीधी सी बात है. We have UP and Assam state coming up with population control policies. When you see state governments coming up with population control measures like this in a Malthusian fashion, they are new Malthusians. Okay. Why new? I don't know if you have read Malthusian or Malthus scholar as such or not, but I'll discuss these things later on. बहुत बाद में जाके population discuss करूंगा मैं. Malthus was also a positivist scholar. Why? Because Malthus says that if population growth remains unchecked, यानी अगर population को किसी ने रोका नहीं बढ़ने से, then our resources will deplete. खाना खत्म हो जाएगा जमीन में. Okay. If population controls remains unchecked, resources will deplete. Positive study. Talking about a law. He had actually given a law. Okay. Now, but if you ask Malthus this question, are you positivist? Obviously, he will say ये क्या होता है. मैं वही कह रहा हूँ कि ऐसे मत सोचो कभी. बस तुम ये देखो कि पॉजिटिविज्म क्या है और कौन ऐसी चीजें कर रहा है. ठीक है. Population control, if you know why state governments are coming up with these policies, because population has become an issue. It is creating strain. And if you remember, I told you one of the factor causing strain is change in population. बोला था कि नहीं? ठीक है, बोला था मैंने. तो सीधी सी बात है, अब आगे तुम्हें खुद लगाना है. अब सोचो क्या करना है. एक बात बताओ, when you coercively control population, coercively, when you come up with policies which are forcing people, okay, to sterilize, or you're forcing people to go for mass sterilization, okay, like the campaign that we had in 75 during emergency period, what will happen? You will have different organs, civil society, NGO, pressure groups, editorial newspaper media, which will try to establish equilibrium once again and try to minimize or resolve the conflict. And that is why when you see UP Chief Minister or Assam Chief Minister coming up with these policies, you will see newspaper flooded with editorials as to why these policies should not be followed. Okay, तो strain resolve होने की कोशिश हो रही, equilibrium वापस जाएगा, यानी कि वो policy क्या पता वापस ले ली जाए. That policy may not even be enacted. And we have population stabilization fund as well. Population stabilization, that means equilibrium, towards equilibrium. Okay, if there is a strain in population, okay, we have stabilization fund as well. Okay, with the help of this fund, we will run awareness campaign, we will run campaign related to education on women, of women. If women gets educated, obviously there will be no population hike. There will be no hike in population because actually it is the women. Okay, actually it is the women. If women are illiterate, then obviously you cannot keep a check on population measure. But if you focus more on educating women and not on, if you focus more on bottom up approach and not on top down, then you will yield more result. Okay, and that is why these kind of policies which force population stabilization do not work. Okay, anyhow, so let us discuss. Is this visible? Okay. So the first question was, sociology developed as a conservative reaction to modernity. Do you agree? What should be the approach? I'll quickly go through these things. Okay, I don't want to go into details now again. First, you should have defined modernity. 1 mark for that. Okay. Sociology developed as a conservative reaction to modernity. So that means modernity is the central issue. So modernity you should have defined. Evolution of modernity can be traced. Once you have defined modernity, then evolution, because we also have to discuss how sociology developed. So evolution of modernity can be traced to revolutionary social changes in Europe, like scientific revolution, intellectual revolution, French revolution, industrial revolution. Half mark for that. Okay. मॉडर्निटी आपने डिफाइन भी कर दिया, आपने ये बता दिया मॉडर्निटी खुद आई कहां से, हल्का सा बताया वो भी 2-3 लाइन में. ओके. Then what did you say? You started explaining features. What happened when modernity came? Some of the changes were from patriarchy to gender equality. Mary Wollstonecraft in bracket. Simple. एरो बना दिया, ब्रैकेट में लिख दिया, मैंने ज्यादा एक्सप्लेनेशन भी नहीं दी कुछ. 10 मार्क क्वेश्चन है. रूल ऑफ रिलीजन टू सेक्युलरिज्म, वॉल्टेयर. फ्रॉम एब्सोल्यूट मोनार्की टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोनार्की, लॉक रूसो. From God-centric world to man-centric world, humanism. From joint family to nuclear family. This would have fetched you 2 more marks. Okay. And finally, these changes, although progressive to certain sections, came at the cost of disruption of social equilibrium and brought in social disorder, which invoked conservative reaction, also called counter-revolutionary phase, led by French intellectuals like de Bonald, de Maistre, Comte, Durkheim. De Bonald argued traditional institutions had maintained social order and were functional. Comte believed social laws governed the world, social laws governing the world can be uncovered. तो नीचे कैसे लिखे? ये सही है. Can be uncovered to discover when the social order will be back. And Durkheim proposed social reforms to fix the pathologies so as to restore social order. This reaction led to rise of structural functionalism, which was concerned with the role of institutions in maintaining the order. However, social changes invoked radical reaction as well. थोड़ा सा अलग भी दे दिया, दूसरा साइड दिखा दिया. As I told you, we have to write both the sides, चाहे कुछ क्वेश्चन कुछ भी हो. However, social change invoked radical reaction as well, which was later called Marxism. Unlike structural functionalism, Marxism proposed revolutionary changes. This unique set of perspectives around modernity led to emergence of sociology. खत्म. 3 मार्क्स आ गए इसके एक्स्ट्रा. Any issue? ठीक है. Next question. Ethnomethodology is a way of doing phenomenological sociology. What should be the structure? Of course, first define ethnomethodology. इतना simple है. Define ethnomethodology. It is a study of methods used by member of society to make sense of their everyday lives. कितनी simple बात है. 1 marks हो गया. ठीक है. Phenomenological sociology के ऊपर भी अब थोड़ा बोलेंगे. Phenomenological sociology came as a response to positivism by posing that social world is a web of meanings having no objective reality or laws governing the actors. सही बात है. And ethnomethodology as a branch of phenomenology was developed by Garfinkel to explain through experiments how actors through repetitive behavior codes and conventions construct the social reality. हो गया 1 mark. एक और. अच्छा. And now what are those methods? As you know, Ethnomethodology is a way of doing phenomenology. Phenomenology is theory. Ethnomethodology is laboratory. Okay, ethnomethodology is practice. You practice phenomenology. In the sense you showcase this to the people that how our world is not objective. We have constructed this seemingly objective world. एंड अभी तुम्हें दिखाता हूँ तोड़ तोड़ के कि ऑब्जेक्टिव कुछ है नहीं, ये सब हमने बनाया रिपीट कर करके बिहेवियर को. ओके, आई रिमेंबर व्हेन आई went to JNU for the first time. Okay, it was not a very pleasing experience. I did not like the ambience. More so when I entered into the department, the Center for Social System. Okay, the JNU's department is known as Center for the Study of Social System, very Parsonian, inspired by Parsons. Okay, and Yogendra Singh, Yogendra Singh is the founder of the sociology department at JNU. Yogendra Singh is also one of the scholars that you will have to read in paper 2. Okay, modernization of Indian tradition. Modernization of Indian tradition. Modernization is coming from Parsons. Okay. When I went to JNU for the first time, I saw one heavy bearded man. Heavy beard, बहुत बड़ी दाढ़ी थी उसकी, ठीक है? Heavy bearded man with a sari. Okay. And I got disturbed. ये क्या चल रहा है? ठीक है? I got disturbed. But you know, that was done intentionally. And JNU department does not have any issue with that person. That person is free to dress any way he or she likes. Okay. There is no issue with that. But the conventions that we have in our mind कि आदमी होके साड़ी पहन के घूम रहा है, कम से कम शेव तो कर लेता. ये जो कन्वेंशन उसको ब्रीच कर दिया उसने. He breached the social order and he told us indirectly, ऐसा नहीं रोक के हमें नहीं बोला उसने कुछ भी, बट जाते जाते कह गया हमें एक तरीके से कि जो तुम सोचते हो दुनिया को लेकर ना कि आदमी ये पहनेगा, लड़की ये पहनेगा, आदमी ऐसा दिखेगा, लड़की ये दिखेगा, इसमें ऑब्जेक्टिव रियलिटी कुछ नहीं है. ये मीडिया की कंस्ट्रक्टेड रियलिटी है जिसको हमने ऑब्जेक्टिव मान लिया है. ये हमारे बचपन में हमने देखा है आसपास, ऑब्जेक्टिव हमने मान लिया, ऑब्जेक्टिव इसमें कुछ है नहीं, तो घबराओ मत. उल्टा you should appreciate the other world that you could not see because of the agents in society. Okay. So this very act of putting on sari with a heavy dadi was an act of resistance against the heteronormative gendered order. Okay. Now, what are the methods used by ethnomethodologists? Breaching experiment. They breach our order, social order. Okay. Just a second, एक phone आ रहा है, पता नहीं किसका. Hello. Yes. 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 Yeah. Gaurav, Gaurav, can I call you after? Or what you can do is you can call me after. What are the methods used by ethnomethodologists? Breaching experiment. They breach social order. They break social order. This experiment disrupts social order and uncovers the chaos underlying the seemingly objective world. For example, playing national anthem in the shopping mall. Breach of social norms. But it can help record the reactions of members to understand how they restore social order. The moment you play, सब लोग को लगेगा अरे कुछ होगा, ये कुछ कंपनी वाले होंगे ऐसे ऐसे. They will restore the normal order once again all by themselves. They will start. They may ridicule it, the very act of playing the national anthem, as a mode of entertainment or some kind of experiment. Okay, something like that. They will automatically restore the order in their minds. Okay, but they will obviously not consider it as normal because national anthem is supposed to be played out in the open. ऐसे shopping mall में कैसे हो रहा है? Okay. Documentary method. Again a method. This explains that repetitive behavior makes us believe that reality is objective. Documentary. When you look at the world, you form document in your mind. This is what the world is. Okay. And this method is the method that we use to make sense of the world. It is our own method. We look at the world, we form documents, and then we start considering it as objective reality. Okay, and ethnomethodologist is using our own method to understand how we make sense. We make sense through documents. For example, repetitive behavior of girls wearing sari and boys wearing shirt pants make us believe that it is objective reality. Okay, which of course is not objective reality. It is constructed reality. It is socially constructed norms that boys have to look like this, girl have to put on. This is not objective. ये तो norms हैं हमारे. Indexicality. Indexicality क्या होता है? Boys wearing sari is made sense when it is done in a specific context like theater or fancy dress. There is no objective reality, but you start making sense of the reality when you start looking at the reality in a context. So if you see a boy wearing sari in a theater, you will somehow make sense. हाँ कि theater है तो ये play होगा एक. Okay, the same boy when you see outside theater, you would be shocked. ये कौन है? But when you see him in theater, तुम्हें लगेगा कि play का part होगा. So you will make sense of it. Indexicality. So indexicality is also something that we use. In the sense we make sense with the help of context. There is no sense in the social world. We make sense with the help of context. Indexicality. These are the three methods used by ethnomethodologists. Okay, to understand how we make sense of the seemingly subjective world and how we consider it as objective. 4 marks हो जाते हैं with examples. Example नहीं दिए तो 3 marks without examples. ऐसा नहीं कि documentary method लिख दिया example दिया नहीं, indexicality लिख दिया example दिया नहीं. Okay. These examples and methods explain how reality is made objective. Answer खत्म हो गया. Ethnomethodology is nothing but doing phenomenology. Contextualize sociology in the debate between science and common sense. Any doubt in the last question? Video is not clear. मैं तभी इसलिए साथ साथ बोलते भी जा रहा हूं. अब क्लियर हो जाएगा थोड़ा. Contextualize sociology in the debate between science and common sense. What should have been the structure? See, it's very simple question. What matters is कि आपने structure क्या बनाया, दिमाग में आपने क्या सोचा, वो देखते. Question is contextualize sociology in the debate between science and common sense. That means debate between science and common sense is important. So first you should highlight the debate between science and common sense. Internet issue, blur हो गया, video lagging. क्या करें? Blur. Blur का issue कैसे solve करें? Let me know if it's normal. Voice is clear, video is a problem. हाँ, वो तो मैं दे दूंगा document file. I'll provide this document on the portal and Telegram as well. So should I continue? ठीक है, चलो एक काम करता हूं, आई एम सेंडिंग दिस डॉक्यूमेंट टू योर टेलीग्राम ग्रुप, उसको खोल के देख लो साथ साथ। सेंट मिल गया। नाउ सी, ओपन दिस पेज जहां पे मैंने लिखा है कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइज सोशियोलॉजी इन द डिबेट बिटवीन साइंस एंड कॉमन सेंस। Of course, you had to explain the debate between science and common sense. That therefore you should have explained the difference between or debate between science and common sense. Therefore, I have drawn this table: common sense versus science. Some people have written common sense versus sociology here. That was not the demand, ना? वो तो डिमांड ही नहीं था। एंड इससे ये भी पता चलता है क्वेश्चन आपने पढ़ा नहीं ढंग से। ठीक है, क्वेश्चन पढ़ना इंपॉर्टेंट है, वो नहीं लिखना जो हम सोच के आए हैं। ये भी एक चीज है जो टेस्ट होती है यूपीएससी में। People tend to write what they have learned. They ignore the question demand. Okay. So first we differentiate between them, common sense versus science, and then we try to locate now where sociology fits in. Sociology fits in common sense or sociology fits in science. Then we get to know sociology fits in both, because the question was contextualize sociology in the debate between them. Simple. So when I started contextualizing, I got to know when I talk about phenomenology, interpretive sociology. In fact, if I talk about phenomenology like symbolic interactionism, ethnomethodology, it is very close to common sense. Okay, because phenomenology is studying meanings only. Ethnomethodology is studying our methods only to make sense. Symbolic interactionism is nothing but the way we interact, the way we give meaning to symbols to interact. For example, when I look at a cup of coffee, when you look at a cup of coffee, okay, a man sitting on laptop having a hot cup of coffee, क्या दिखेगा? Okay, when you look at cup of coffee, you see productivity. बिजी है, बड़े लोग हैं, करोड़ों की डील कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, कॉफी है गर्म, ठंडी हो जाएगी तो शायद करोड़ से और ऊपर हो जाएगा क्योंकि कोल्ड कॉफी और महंगी होती है, ठीक है। तो second, coffee is also symbol that symbolize people getting close to each other. Let's meet over a cup of coffee. Coffee is also symbol of date or establishing relation. So coffee is a symbol. What we make of this symbol is completely up to us. And what we make of symbol is completely dependent on the context. It is not that coffee universally symbolize productivity or coffee universally symbolize dating only. Every meaning is indexed. Okay, so phenomenology is making me closer to common sense, positivism making sociology closer to science, and interpretative sociology is bridging all the three: sociology, science, and common sense. Because interpretative sociology is science of social action. क्या बात है, तो तीनों हो गए. ओके, and क्योंकि we in sociology we study everything, we study positivism also, we study interpretive sociology also, we study phenomenology also, therefore we are multi-paradigmatic science. There is no one dominant paradigm in sociology. In natural science we have dominant paradigm, in social science we do not have dominant, we have multiple paradigms, therefore multi-paradigmatic science. एंड लास्ट में यू कैन ऑल्सो से दैट साइंस खुद क्या होता है, साइंस का कुछ वो हैसियत नहीं बची है. Lyotard says that science in itself is not objective today, it is completely meta narrative. साइंस आज जो बोल रहा है कल वो नहीं बोलेगा. इतनी बार तो आदमी अपना बातें नहीं चेंज करते जितनी बार साइंस कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, हो गया खत्म आंसर. तो basically this is what you had to do. If you have any trouble in any specific question, you may ask, because otherwise I have already sent you the answers. अगर कोई specific question में issue है तो पूछो, otherwise we wrap up this session and continue tomorrow with Robert Merton. Health sector. Acha, first let me also explain this question. Many people have committed blunder in this question. A daily newspaper reported higher unemployment rates are the source of higher crime rates. Which theoretical strand of research methodology would support this proposition? Is this proposition scientific? Now you see, अब देखो हम कैसे अप्रोच करते हैं इस क्वेश्चन को. ठीक है, कितना अलग तरीके से अब हम देखेंगे इस क्वेश्चन को. Now you already have knowledge of the theories also, so it will make sense to you. First, of course, we should explain what is the meaning of being scientific. Okay. According to Karl Popper, any statement, theory, or a proposition stand to be called scientific only if it can be proven wrong by conflicting evidence. You can call anything scientific only if it can be proven wrong. Remember this. If you cannot prove anything wrong, वो scientific कैसे हो गया? अगर एक भाई किसी ने तुम्हें कुछ कह दिया जो कभी गलत साबित हो ही नहीं सकती, कुछ ऐसी बात कह दी उसने, वो साइंटिफिक कैसे हो गई? टेस्ट तो करना इंपॉर्टेंट है, टेस्ट से ही आप प्रूव कर सकोगे रॉन्ग उसको, सामने वाले को. फॉर समथिंग टू बी साइंटिफिक it should have capacity to be proven wrong. The pursuit to follow scientific method was envisioned by positivist school in sociology. Positivists believed that social world, just like natural world, is governed by laws that can help us discover the pattern of evolution, cause of social disorder, possibility of social order. For example, Comte gave law of 3 stages to explain the evolution of society and predict social order. Durkheim used similar principles and gave law on suicide rate. With rapid industrialization of society, suicide rate tends to increase. 2 marks with example, 1 without example. Similarly, a statement like higher unemployment, now coming back to question, fatafat se. Similarly, a statement like higher unemployment rates are the source of higher crime rate is a positivist proposition, since it satisfies all the salient feature of positivism. It satisfies all the salient feature of positivism. How? First, क्वांटिटेटिव मेथडोलॉजी, यही तो होता है पॉजिटिविज्म। और ये क्या है? हायर अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट, ये क्वांटिटेटिव ही तो है। सोर्स ऑफ हायर क्राइम रेट, quantitative methodology is followed, data is collected, only then you are talking about rate. That means you have followed quantitative methodology. Data on unemployment and crime collected to calculate rate, simple. Second, social phenomena like unemployment coercing individuals into criminality. And this is what positivist says, that social fact or social phenomena govern individuals. And when I am saying that crime rate is increasing because of unemployment, that means unemployment is a phenomena that normalizes crime, or that makes crime inevitable. So criminal is not criminal because of his wish or because of his own mood. He is criminal because of the larger social structures. Unemployment is governing his criminality, and unemployment is a fact which has led to another social fact. Okay. Social world quantified in terms of unemployment and crime rate. Okay. Theorization of social world. Causal relationship I'm also establishing between them. Positivist. Okay. तो जो इंपॉर्टेंट कुछ फीचर्स हैं पॉजिटिज्म के, वो आपको दिख जाएंगे इसके अंदर, मैच हो रहे हैं। ओके, फीचर्स ऑफ पॉजिटिज्म यू कैन इजीली रिकॉल, आपके टेक्स्ट में भी मैंने लिखा है, आपके क्लास में भी मैंने बताया थे। ओके, एंड लास्ट फीचर which is very much there in the note as well, social engineering, अगर आपने ऐसा कुछ पढ़ा हो अपने नोट्स में, helps the policy maker to fix the pathology by zeroing on in higher unemployment rate to curb crime rate. तो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट को कम करने की कोशिश की जाएगी ताकि क्राइम रेट ना बढ़े। और ये कैसे होएगा? पॉलिसीज के थ्रू, गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज के थ्रू। दिस इज नोन एज सोशल इंजीनियरिंग। ओके, दिस इज नोन एज सोशल इंजीनियरिंग, एंड सोशल इंजीनियरिंग इज आल्सो वन ऑफ द फीचर ऑफ पॉजिटिविज्म। Okay. Now, according to Popper, this would be scientific proposition because it is theoretically possible to find instances where unemployment rates were not correlated to crime rate. Remember, anything can be scientific if it can be proven wrong. So this statement can be scientific if this statement can be proven wrong. Unemployment rate leading to crime rate. If I can prove it wrong, and if I can show that there is no necessary relation between the two, then this means it is a scientific statement because I can prove it wrong. Therefore, okay. For example, non-positivist. What will non-positivist say? The biggest limitation of such proposition is that it projects monocausal explanation to the multi-causal social world. I can prove it wrong. How can I prove it wrong? By talking about other indicators leading to increased crime rate. It is not only unemployment rate, or there is no such monocausal relation as well. In fact, higher crime rate can also lead to unemployment. You cannot say that unemployment is leading to crime rate. Higher crime rate can also lead to higher unemployment. ठीक है, क्राइम रेट जितना ज्यादा होएगा उस एरिया में, उतने ही बच्चे कम पढ़ पाएंगे, स्कूल चलेंगे नहीं। ठीक है, जितना कम पढ़ेंगे उतनी उनको एम्प्लॉयमेंट की चांस और अपॉर्चुनिटी खत्म होती रहेगी। So you cannot be so sure about these things, but it shows that we are in a position to critique it, and it shows therefore it is a scientific proposition. Phenomenology क्या बोलेगा? The way unemployment and crime is defined also need to be taken into consideration. These are models and may not capture the complex reality. Very much like Max Weber. ऐसा कुछ मैक्स वेबर का जो आइडियल टाइप है वो कुछ यही बोलेगा कि क्राइम और अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट क्या होता है। These are models and may not capture the complex reality. Why? I'll tell you. Next example से पता चल जाएगा तुम्हें। Domain assumptions. Alvin Goldner. Thirdly, social location of researcher might have influenced his typification and classification of unemployment and crime. A women researcher, how she defines crime. Feminist researcher. Okay. How a Muslim researcher or how a Hindu researcher These social locations of the researcher can also influence how they define crime, how they define unemployment. Okay, Marxist. Such statements conceal crime committed by bourgeois class. Profit is theft and projects working class as criminal. The source of unemployment is कहाँ गया? ऐसे ठीक है. The source of unemployment is the technological advancement which has pushed these people in industrial reserve army. Okay. Crime rate and unemployment has no relation. It is the technological development that has led to the rise of unemployment. यही तो बोलता था मार्क्स. एंड मार्क्स बोलेगा कि क्राइम, जब आप बोलते हो क्राइम क्राइम क्राइम, आप यू आर हाईलाइटिंग वर्किंग क्लास एज क्रिमिनल्स. यू आर नॉट हाईलाइटिंग what these people are doing in the name of business ethics. They are performing, or they are accused of committing crime. Profit is theft. Okay, surplus value is appropriated, that is crime. Fourthly, now this is important, crime rates are found higher in USA as against India, which shows that developed world where supposedly unemployment rate is low can also have higher crime rate. If you are in America, you will see this statement does not hold valid. Unemployment rate there in America is low, still crime rate is high in comparison to India. In India, we have two India, urban India, rural India. Urban India is developed. Still we have higher crime rate than rural India. And we, urban India, Indians, are those who provide opportunity to rural masses. Okay. In urban India, people seek opportunities to seek employment. Therefore, there is no relation between these two. It shows that unemployment does not necessarily causal relate with crime rate, does not have causal relation with crime rate. Okay. And of course, as I was explaining, the way unemployment and crime is defined also need to be taken into consideration. These are models and may not capture the complex reality. When I use the word crime, okay, how are you defining crime? What are the things that you consider as crime? In all those things, your social location, your ideology is going to influence your research. Okay. Marital rape is not seen as crime. Okay. Some other things may not be seen as crime. To some other, that may be a crime. For example, suppose, just to give you an example, if you go to a club, okay, and if you start drinking like anything in the club, okay, and you start dancing madly, there it will be very normal. It is not crime. The same thing if you do out in the open road, that is crime now. So when you were doing it in the club, that was okay. It is not crime. Now when you are doing it in the open, that is crime. Action is same. Context has made the meaning different. It was normal there, it is crime here. It was normal social fact there, it is pathological social fact on the road. Okay. So there is no objective reality in the social world. Okay. बाकी आप देख लोगे, अब मेरे तो इसमें बताने वाला कुछ है नहीं. Okay, you will get to know कि कैसे कैसे. Sir, how will we identify what constitutes crime and what does not? If we can't identify crime, how will we test? वही तो कह रहा हूं मैं. First of all, हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? We had to show to the examiner that there is no, this statement can be proven wrong. ओके, तभी तो साइंटिफिक बोलेंगे. How can statement be scientific if it can be proven wrong? And once you start talking about different models, or if you start talking about multi-causal relation or inverted relation or contextual relation between different countries, take into consideration different countries, you are trying to prove the statement wrong only now. And this shows that it is scientific statement. एक बात बताओ. Now there is something that you cannot do with every statement. For example, if I say that कहाँ गया ये? हाँ, the statement is higher unemployment rate are the source of higher crime rate. Instead of this statement, if I say that higher unemployment rate is a way to heaven. भाई, can you prove this wrong? इसको गलत ही नहीं प्रूव कर पाएंगे. There are some statements in the world which can never be proven wrong. They cannot be called scientific statement. If you can prove something wrong, if a statement is such that you can prove it wrong, then it is scientific. And when I'm talking about other versions on crime and employment, I am trying to prove it wrong only. Scientific हो गया. Pranchu? वैल्यू न्यूट्रलिटी वाले में 150 वर्ड्स नॉट रीचिंग आ जाएगा. 150 वर्ड्स देखते हैं कैसे लाए. वैल्यू न्यूट्रलिटी. Define value neutrality. It is an ability of researcher to empathetically understand social action of research without letting his or her values influence the research. The methodology adopted by Weber to pursue value neutrality is fetched him 2 marks. Okay. To what extent is it possible and advisable to exercise value neutrality in social research? Value neutrality was a response to value freedom approach proposed by positive sociology, which had reduced conscious beings to objects governed by laws. Since researchers have their own ideologies and stock of knowledge, these may influence their research. Weber called it value relevance. Have you read value relevance? नोट्स में पढ़ा होगा. ना भी लिखा हो तो डज नॉट मैटर, ऐसा नहीं है कुछ कि ये लिखना ही लिखना था. However, values may play a role in selection of topic of research, but after that selection of topic, research may be conducted in an objective manner. For example, feminists may conduct research on domestic violence. Marxists may do so on poverty. Okay, but after they have selected their research, then they have to be objective. Once their social location influences them to conduct research on the choice of topic, their ideology allows them to do so. But after that, they cannot be letting their values out. Later critics, therefore, like Goldner and Medal, believe that even in later stages, objectivity may not be attained since interpretation of data, techniques of data collection, funding of research may as well be influenced by values of researcher or organization. Okay. Therefore, any attempt to follow natural science may not be advisable if it restricts sociologists from having objective understanding of subjective reality. ठीक है. हाँ, अब बोलो क्या डाउट्स हैं. क्वेश्चन 2C. 2C कौन सा क्वेश्चन है? 2C. ये तो सिंपल क्वेश्चन है यार. डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन. कॉमन सेंस इज फैमिलियराइजेशन विद रियलिटी एंड सोशियोलॉजी इज डीफैमिलियराइजेशन. भाई एक बात बताओ मेरे को, क्या तुमने कभी ऐसा सोचा था कि कैपिटलिज्म जो है, ठीक है, उसका डेवलपमेंट इस तरीके से हो सकता है किसी के लिए काम करना इज नॉट अ सोर्स ऑफ मनी, काम करना वॉज एक्चुअली अ वे ऑफ एक्सप्रेसिंग स्पिरिचुअलिटी, और वहां से कैपिटलिज्म आ गया। ये तो आप सोच ही नहीं सकते हो। ठीक है, ये डीफेमिलराइज हो गया आप रियलिटी से अपने आप ही। क्राइम की जब हम बात करते हैं, हमें लगता है क्राइम मतलब इसने चोरी की, 10 रुपए वहां से उठाए, ये चोर है। अरे चोर तो वो है जिसने उसको सैलरी 100 रुपए दी, चोर वो है। क्या ऐसे सोच सकते थे पहले? डीफेमिलराइज हुए कि नहीं रियलिटी से? चोर कौन है? वो लोग जो हमें एम्प्लॉयमेंट देते हैं, क्योंकि वो हमारा खाते हैं। चोर वो हैं, दे आर क्रिमिनल। तो अपने आप डीफेमिलराइज हो गए रियलिटी से। तो ये तो मैंने टेबल बना कर दिया है बाकायदा। आई हैव गिवन यू वन टेबल, एक्सप्लिसिट टेबल ऑन एग्जाम्पल्स एज वेल as to how we can see sociology is different from common sense. I have given कम से कम 6-7 examples I have given in the notes. सीधा सीधा क्वेश्चन था यार ये तो। Difference you had to explain between sociology and common sense basically. हेल्थ सेक्टर अब कल करते हैं यार, 5 बज गए। कल we will start with Robert Merton and then I mean we'll start with this question and then we'll start with Robert Merton. ठीक है, फटाफट उसको निपटाते हैं, स्पीड पकड़ेंगे कल से। चलो, थैंक यू।